The Hall Mills murders are a notorious and haunting double homicide that took place in 1922 in Somerville, New Jersey. The case involved the brutal killings of a prominent Episcopal priest, Edward Hall, and his lover, Eleanor Mills, a choir singer. The murders shocked the community and sparked a media frenzy due to the scandalous nature of the affair and the grisly details surrounding their deaths. Edward Hall, 41, was a well-respected Episcopal minister at St. John's Episcopal Church in New Brunswick, New Jersey. Hall was married to his wife, Frances Hall, with whom he had children. However, he was secretly involved in an extramarital affair with Eleanor Mills, 34, a parishioner and choir singer at his church. Mills, also married, had several children, but her relationship with Hall was well known in certain circles. Eleanor Mills was a divorcee who worked as a secretary and singer at St. John's Church. Her affair with Hall had been the subject of gossip in the small town, though neither of them had publicly acknowledged the relationship. Mills was described as attractive, and Hall was often seen in her company. The bodies of Edward Hall and Eleanor Mills were found on September 14, 1922, in a remote wooded area near the Hall's Mill section of New Brunswick, New Jersey, by a local farmer. The gruesome scene left a chilling mark on the case. Hall and Mills were found lying together in a secluded, wooded area called the Pine Barrens near a country road, where they had been shot and killed. Hall had been shot in the head, and Mills had also been shot in the head and was found lying next to him. Both victims appeared to have been killed with a .38 caliber revolver, and there were signs that the killer had shot them at close range. Mills was found with her head tilted back, which suggested that she had been shot in the throat. Her hands were tied behind her back, and she was found with a sheet wrapped around her neck, indicating she had been strangled before she died. Hall's body was found with his hands at his sides, and he had been shot in the face and head. Investigators found a bundle of love letters and some other personal items at the scene, which suggested the romantic relationship between Hall and Mills. These letters were a key piece of evidence linking them both to each other. One of the most puzzling pieces of evidence was the lack of clear physical evidence at the scene. Despite the widespread theory that the murders were linked to the couple's extramarital affair, there was no immediate evidence leading to a suspect. The absence of blood near the bodies suggested that they were either moved after the murders or that the killer carefully cleaned the area before fleeing. While many in the community speculated about the relationship between Hall and Mills, there were no obvious suspects initially. Given Hall's prominent position in the community and the scandal of his affair, many townspeople believed that the killer might have been someone from his church or an angry spouse. The first theory to gain traction was that Frances Hall, Edward Hall's wife, had found out about the affair and murdered both her husband and Eleanor Mills in a fit of jealousy. Frances Hall was interrogated, but no conclusive evidence was found to suggest her involvement. She maintained her innocence, but the public became convinced that she was the key figure in the murders. Another theory centered on Mills's husband, William Mills, who was also a suspect. However, he had an alibi and was soon ruled out as a suspect. There were suspicions that the murders were the work of someone who had a personal vendetta against the couple, such as a jealous lover, an angry parishioner, or even someone involved in the affair who had been deeply affected by it. The police investigation was hampered by several factors, including the limited forensic techniques available at the time and the lack of concrete evidence linking anyone to the crime. However, circumstantial evidence and public gossip led to one of the more controversial aspects of the case, the trial of the accused suspects. Despite the initial lack of physical evidence, the case became one of the most sensational trials of the 1920s. In 1923, a grand jury was convened, and the focus shifted to two accused suspects, Frances Hall, Edward Hall's wife, and Henry Mills, the brother-in-law of Eleanor Mills. Both were questioned intensely, and their personal lives were scrutinized in the press. The Hall-Mills case was especially scandalous due to the church and affair connections. The trial was full of sensational details, with public gossip fueling the drama and speculation. Frances Hall was accused of having committed the murder out of jealousy, but no hard evidence was presented to prove her guilt. In the end, Frances Hall and Henry Mills were both acquitted, and the case was never definitively solved. The trial, however, left a lasting stain on both families, with rumors and accusations continuing to circulate for years after the case had been closed. The Hall-Mills case remained unsolved, and no one was ever convicted of the murders. Over the years, various theories have emerged, suggesting that someone with a deep personal connection to either of the victims may have committed the crime. Some believe the murders were the result of a love triangle, while others speculate that a jealous parishioner or family member was behind the killings. Even today, the Hall Mills murders remain an unsolved mystery, one of the most notorious and haunting double homicides in American history. The case is frequently cited as an example of how personal relationships and scandal can intertwine with criminal investigations to create a media frenzy and confusion about the truth. The murders continue to fascinate criminologists, amateur sleuths, and historians, as the Hall Mills case remains one of the most mysterious and haunting murders of the 20th century, with its unresolved questions still looming over it.